Hey, welcome to the Christian Media Marketing Show. My name is John, and thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope that today's episode, whether you're listening to it or you're watching it on the YouTube channel that we have, I hope that it's going to be a blessing to you. One of the key things that's important to me is just security. And in the 21st century that we live in the realities of the areas where many of you who listen or watch this show work, there are a lot of threats. And truthfully, it's not really confined to just one area or one region. It's a global thing, and it's continuing to grow, and it's continuing to be a risk, not just of, missionaries that are going to get kicked out of a country, but just identity theft, people's accounts, finances being stolen, all sorts of stuff that can take place. And so it's really important that we are constantly vigilant and aware of the risks that are out there. Now, security is not you are secure, you're not. It's not a one or a zero. It is definitely a sliding scale. But there are things that you and I can do to keep ourselves safe, or safer at least, in the work that's out there. Now, when it comes to your cell phone, it's probably the most risky thing that you have. People will lock their cars, you'll lock your apartment or your home, but they don't think about sometimes just basic security things when it comes to your cell phone. And in fact, on your cell phone now, it is so easy to get banking information and to do so much on our cell phones that it is a treasure trove of information and place for those who would wish to do harm or evil to try to attack. And so I want to talk about that today. There's a lot going on in social media. That's why our weekly marketing newsletter is important. Meta is changing some things as I record this, as far as their verifying the authenticity of their information and of what truth telling and those kind of things. And it's just going to be crazy to see what's going on out there. There's just a lot of change, and so we're trying to read and keep up on that. And if you don't get that weekly marketing newsletter, go to our Kavanaugh Media website, hang out on any page there for 2 or 3 seconds. It'll pop up. You can sign up for it right there. And before I jump into this today too, thanks for those of you who reached out about just saying you're praying for me and for my health. I've been sick now for going on 2 or so weeks, and so sorry if I'm coughing today or if my voice kind of sounds weird. But anyway, trying to get through this, trying to give you the information. Thanks for praying. The underlying fatigue and stuff, just did some more tests, just waiting to find out what all it is. But God is good, and it's all in His hands. And so thank you for joining me in prayer for that. All right, let's dive in then to this idea of photo security. Specifically is what I want to talk about today. Your photos that you have on your phone, and when you take them, how to be secure on your cell phone. Now, before I get into this, here's why this is important. There's a lot of information that is shared, and there's a lot of information that can be gleaned. It's called open source intelligence in the cyber security world. And I've done this for organizations and been able to show them that a lot of the people that they thought were safe, or their identities or their locations were being hidden, weren't actually. And many times it's because of photos and photos that have been shared and ways to search into that. So I'm going to give you some stuff that Apple just came out with a new feature. And so I want to highlight that first. And then I'm going to give you 7 areas and things to be watching out for when it comes to just your cell phone security. All right. So if you use an Apple iPhone, it just came out with what's called enhanced visual search. And this says here to privately match places in your photos with a global index of some of these locations. When something happens completely just on your computer, well, then it's secure. But if you're sending information to somebody else, say to Apple or Google or whomever, well, you cannot guarantee that it is actually being secured. Even if they are doing their best, if Apple is, there are ways and people trying to target, and there could be backdoors and all sorts of stuff. And so this is a newer feature in their iOS 18. This is all big part of their AI stuff that they've been rolling out and other types of just enhancements. So this enhanced visual search is found in your settings there on your iPhone under the app, photos, and then your settings there. I took a picture and I'll show you some of what it looks like here. This is a picture I took. You can see in it the date. You can see what on my Apple iPhone, what I used here, the lenses, that kind of stuff. Now, when you say look up landmark, then it kind of draws a picture around this, and you can tell that this is the Pantheon. And then it brings it up and says, find these results, and then there's a continue button that you hit. Well, then it sends that information to Apple, and then it came back and said this. This is the Parthenon, the ancient Greek temple in Athens. So it was able to recognize that and match that to it. Now, this can be bad because if you're putting out pictures, if you share the location, the metadata, that can be really, really bad. But it's also something just of being able to kind of track down what you're doing. And so when you're taking these pictures, you're sharing this information with Apple. And I would just say I would be cautious about this. I'm not sure it really adds a lot of value. You know where you took the picture. And so when you're doing these things, I would turn it off if it was me. All right, so that's just one thing, something to think about. But let me give you some real practical things that you can do as well when you're looking at your photos and whether or not you want to share information. Be aware of the metadata. So most photos contain a type of information that includes the date, the time, you saw that on mine, but many times the GPS location of where the photo was taken. And so even if you've cropped the photo down, so it's just a picture of you on a beach, people can see many times that metadata. So be careful about that. In the apps and the settings, make sure you just strip that metadata, that it doesn't share it. Also, disable geotagging. So turn off location services for your camera app, and that will prevent the GPS data from being embedded into the images. Another thing you can do is be cautious with your backgrounds. When you take a picture, be scanning for sensitive information. So there could be documents. There was one image that was shared where it showed the password for the Wi-Fi in the background on a whiteboard. Watch out for license plates, any personal belongings, things like that. So just be aware of your surroundings. That's just good security practice. But even when you're taking pictures or when other people are taking pictures, watch out because you might be in them as well. You can blur sensitive areas. Most of the stuff, though, you just need to be careful. Do blur stuff, but if the blur can be added, sometimes there's enough the information there that it can be unblurred. So just be cautious with your backgrounds and what you are sharing. All right, number 3 here, what I would say is just things to be careful about is controlling where you're sharing your information. So limit your audiences. If you're using something like, let's say Facebook, then go into your privacy settings and you can control who can view your shared photos. You can do friends only, and that's what I would recommend. Okay, and so on Instagram, you can have a private account and only people you've approved can see your photos. So control who can see your photos. And also I would encourage you, number 4, to avoid sharing certain photos. So if you have kids, don't share little pictures of your kids. When we lived in Taiwan, we saw on the side of a bus one time the picture of it was a different org, but a worker's kid, just a picture. And somebody had used that picture and downloaded it and made it into part of an advertisement that shown itself on a bus. And so just be careful. Watch out. School uniforms or where they're at your home. Lots of stuff. A lot can be gleaned from these pictures. Same thing with anything with your ministry related or work related images. All right. Refrain from sharing pictures that might inadvertently reveal confidential, or just information you don't need to be sharing about where you work or what it is that you're doing. Okay, I know when you travel, maybe you're doing something with work and you're like, hey, check out where I'm at. Just don't share it. Number 5, this is not so much about what you're sharing, but what other people are sharing. And that's just be wary of edited or AI images. Deep fakes, things like that now are unbelievably good. And so just because you see something doesn't mean it's true. So check for manipulated content and avoid sharing edited or AI stuff. It can lead at worst, or at the minimum, misinformation, but it can really impact your reputation. If you're sharing all sorts of stuff that has shown to not be true, then why would someone want to believe you about Jesus? Like, think about what we're sharing, and be careful when it comes to pictures. Number 6, monitor your social media for reposts. Track your images, and you can go into Google search and you can drop an image you have into that Google search, and it will show you where that picture is being used or other people that may have it. It's a reverse image search. And so watch out for this. People may download your pictures and use it. I've had people do that before and share and put a Bible verse over one of my pictures. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing here? So be careful. Don't do that. And then just understand, number 7, the sharing risk involved with all of this. Be aware of scams, because cyber criminals use these photos for phishing, for identity theft, for blackmail. They're using AI to change things on stuff that can make it very dangerous. So watch as well for location exposure. So even when you're sharing your pictures, it can show your habits. It can show places you go to all the time. There's a lot that can be gleaned from that. All right. So when it comes to your photos, be secure, be safe, and watch out what you're doing with all of them. All right. And so just be careful with your cell phone and what you're sharing. All right. So I hope this is a benefit. Hope it's a help to you today. I want you to be safe, but I also want you to be sharing. And so go out there, do the work that God has called you to do. Use digital tools, use all these things for the glory of God, for his kingdom. And if we can ever help you, we would love to partner with you to help you to relieve some of the technical or to do parts that might help you even with your security. As always, if you enjoy this podcast or the YouTube channel, I would encourage you to share it with others. We really do appreciate that. Check out our weekly marketing newsletter. We also have a monthly newsletter that we put out just highlighting some of what God is doing. And so some testimonies and stories like that. So feel free to sign up for any of those. All right. Keep pressing forward no matter what. Whatever you're doing, however the Lord is using you for his glory and for his kingdom, keep pressing forward. We appreciate you all. Thanks for praying. Take care, and God bless.